Okay.
Hi guys, welcome back to Cupcakes and Protein Shakes. I am your host, Savannah. We're doing another episode of Bikini Girl Chit Chat. So welcome to the show. Introduce your name and tell us where you're from.
Hi, my name is Samantha Lee, and I am currently living in San Diego, but on Friday I'm moving to Iowa.
I'm sorry. Are you excited to move to Iowa or why are you moving to Iowa?
I'm originally from Iowa, so moving back to be with family. Um, and so I'm halfway excited to move back to Iowa.
It's like, welcome
Cold.
to the Midwest. So I was like, yeah, I'm in Kansas. It's like, wow, that's an interesting transition, from two different worlds. Okay, so tell us what's going on currently. Are you off season? Are you prepping? Where are you at in your fitness journey?
I am currently off season. My last show is back in September of 2021. So I typically take very long off seasons because it takes me a long time to build muscle.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really hoping to do a show very early 2024. So I'd start prep either late this year or basically the first of next year. And so that's the goal. And been working on building and it's been working great.
Good.
So
Okay. So when was the
yeah.
last time you were on stage? You said 2021. Was that the only competition or was there any more besides that?
2021 was the last time. So I did two shows. I did August and September of that year. And then I have done four other shows prior to that. So I started in 2017 was my first show in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay. So first show ever since 2017. Before you started your fitness journey, what made that happen? Or why did you start a fitness journey? How did you get introduced to the sport? How did you find out about bodybuilding?
Um, I just at a job, one of my jobs, one of my coworkers was talking about she was prepping for her first bodybuilding competition. So she was doing bikini as well. And she had been doing it for a while. And I usually would set one big goal for the year. And the years prior it had been marathons. And so I was like, oh, should I do another marathon or should I try this bikini stuff? And I was like, they both sound kind of challenging and I could mix it up. And I had just started like dabbling into lifting back in like 2017. So I was a newer lifter because I'd always been a runner and I was like, ah, weight's gross. No. um, and I kind of just asked everyone around me, and everyone's like, you should try the bikini competition and see what you can do. So I was like, all right. So I stuck to, I'm a big fast food, junk food person. Not so much anymore, but I was like, well, if I can stick to a diet for a week, I can do it for multiple weeks, of course. And so I tested the waters and I stuck to it. Um, Even when there's free food everywhere, and I'm usually a free food fan. And then I decided I would do a bikini competition, moved to California, and started my first prep about a couple weeks later.
Wow. Okay. So this is all happening, moving again and prepping at the same time. It's like
Yeah.
so much stress that you just decided, let's just like make it extra stressful. In addition to dieting, let's move, let's do the whole thing. During that time, were you coaching yourself or were you working with someone?
I was not coaching myself. I've never coached myself. I was working with the person that was at my job, her coach, and it was strictly online. I never even saw her or talked to her in person one time. I wouldn't say she was the world's best coach, not the worst coach either, but um I looking back, I mean, I knew nothing about bikini at all during my first show or my first prep. And she should have recommended that I do some building since I had just started getting into lifting like 6 months before that. And it wasn't even very serious. I was very small, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember like looking back, I had my first show in 2017 and literally I mean I was an athlete so I had a little bit of muscle base but I didn't have a bulk or anything. So I look back
Mm.
at that show and was like who let that on stage? Like where is the definition? It's like, yeah, I look lean. I was like, but I kind of just look skinny because there's no shape. So it was a good look. It did well at first that time, 2017, but it's just like, oh, because I started January and was like, I'm doing May. like didn't know anything. I was like, that seems like a good amount of time, like 6 months. Surely I'll be huge and like ready to go. But you don't really realize how slow muscle building takes until you do your first prep and you look at your shots like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like this is going to take a whole lot of time to build some muscle.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's exactly what I mean, I loved it when I did it the very first show. I was like, oh, I look great, this is awesome. But like looking back, I'm like, oh my, I was
Yeah.
so tiny. But you're right, in 2017, I mean, I got fourth at my first show ever. So, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like only five girls there. So it was, I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
And I think doing well in that show is what made me continue to like, like maybe I could sort of do this and try
Yeah.
again.
Did you have
So
any type of athletic background prior? Like, did you have a dance? What did you do any sports growing up?
yes, I was a cross country and track athlete in high school and college.
Okay. Okay, that
Lots
makes
of
sense.
running.
Yeah, lots of running. Okay, so we do our first prep and we do well. We get fourth place, which is amazing. Not quite nationally qualified yet. So are you going to continue to prep? What happened? What did you get feedback? What did you do after this first time?
After my first show, I just was done and I didn't reverse well at all, not even a little bit. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
So, I gained a lot of weight back very quickly. I didn't shoot past where I started, but I definitely gained a lot back. So it's probably a lot of body fat rather than muscle. And then I kind of just decided to hang out there. And then about a year later, I did another show because, like I was saying, I typically like to have like a big goal each year, and I hadn't quite broken free of that. And so I did my next prep roughly, or did my next show of roughly a year later, I
Okay.
think, and looked a little better though. So I did put on a little bit of muscle.
Okay. So was that prep easier or harder compared to the first one?
It was, I would say, it was about the same.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to think back. That one I did two shows, not quite back to back, but within a month of one another to take advantage of being on prep. And I had a in-person coach at that time here in San Diego and I had an in-person posing coach actually for both of them, who's actually, it's still the same routine I have, even all these years later, after having so many people look at it, it's the same routine. So she's very good. But yeah, I did two shows. I placed third so it was right when they changed the national qualification to top two. And I was like, no, one off again,
Yeah.
which I didn't deserve to go to nationals, wasn't national ready, but in my head, it would have been cool to qualify.
Yeah.
And then the second show I got fourth or fifth, the next one, even though I looked better. A month later, I didn't place nearly as well. And then I was like, dang it. And then I took another year off and did one more show, and that one was very hard. That one was my worst showing I've had. Like,
Why? What happens?
um, I just don't think I was mentally like I had gained weight. I didn't reverse well. This last year was the first time I really had a good reverse and maintained really well. And I think I just jumped into a prep too quickly, and my body was just like, I don't really want to lose weight. And so it was my softest look on stage. It just was my least favorite look. And then that's when the first time I took 2 full years off between shows. That was 2019, I think. And then I was gonna maybe do a show in 2020, and then 2020 happened. And so it moved it to 2021.
Okay, so that, I mean, it's really hard when your body isn't responding, like, and you're still want, like, as a competitive athlete, you've done several shows now, so you know how the process goes. Here you are ready to prep, and your body says no. And there's, I mean, I've did my 2021, I tried, and it said no. It said, "Well, you need to eat a little bit more. You've been dieting for a long time." Sometimes that happens. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, we keep hearing the phrase reverse diet coming up. And so, talk about like what happened that made you realize that that was important? And how were you able to do your last reverse really strict compared to the other ones?
My previous preps, I didn't really have more of a goal than just step on stage and see how I do. Like I wanted to do well. Like having a sport background, like I have that competitive, but I'm not like extremely competitive. So I'm just like, oh, okay, as long as I do good for me, that's what
Yeah,
matters.
yeah,
But then after that last show, and I really got a lot deeper into bikini and like learning about it and just consuming a ton of information. And I just really, I'm like, you know what? I'd like to do a good job at this. Like I'd like to really rock it and see how far I can take it. And I hired a coach, Ashley, co-author, so a Team Elite Physique. And the biggest thing for my reverse was I kept with coaching for 6 months after my show. And that was game changing. I for anyone prepping, doing a show, stay with your coach post show. Just I can't say it was perfect, but I mean it was I I've had a wonderful reverse. I am in a great spot right now. I was in a great spot 6 months after my show. Like I stuck to the diet because I knew Ashley would be like, "Hey, check in pictures. How you looking?" And that
yeah.
was I'm very motivated just by being accountable to somebody, and I know that that motivates me. So if you're that type of person, I would definitely say just keep your coach, keep them for at least I would say a minimum of 12 weeks, if not longer, if you can. I mean, it's it made a world of difference for me, and I'm so happy that I made that decision.
Yeah, like it's essentially, I always think about it of like, I'm not really dieting until the amount of time has lapsed that I cut for. So
Yes.
it takes that much time to balance, sometimes even more. Like I really don't start to feel that normalized hormones till at least 8 weeks out before I'm like, I think I feel okay. Like I think I'm coming back to life. And then, from 8 weeks on, it's slowly like, now I have energy. Now I can push hard. Now my body's adapted to like higher calories and I feel a little bit better, but you're still having to be pretty restrictive because, dialing down for stage lean condition, like true stage lean condition, it's tough and it's hard on your body. It's not something that's like, okay, we can just eat again. It's like, no, you down regulated that metabolism. What you were eating before is just simply not going to work anymore. So you got to work those calories back up. Even though mentally you're going to be absolutely starving, it's really challenging just to be like, okay, I got to keep going. When you signed up for, did you pick Ashley or was it placed?
I chose Ashley specifically. I think I was one of her first clients she was taking back then. So I think she had two Sams to start. So
Yeah. Okay, so what made you choose Ashley?
she was the very first person that I was introduced to when I back in like 2017 I did the Oxygen magazine like 90-day challenge and I chose her program to follow because she used to do track and I was like, oh, I used to do track. That's cool. And that's and then when I started watching her on her podcast, Bikini in the Brain, and just I like her attitude with everything. And like I said, that was when I was really like, you know what, I'm going to get serious about this. And I like her approach to make it more of a lifestyle. And it doesn't have to be awful. Like that's, since I've gotten more into it, that's something that really bothers me when people say how much it ruined everything. It's like, it doesn't have to. Like, and if you would have talked to me 2017, maybe I would have agreed with that. But probably not though, because I knew it was my fault that I ate a bunch of food right afterward.
Yeah, but that's
um,
when like that 2017, like the beginning of bikini post-show treats, like going hard post-show treats, that was a trend. Like I swear
it
to
was.
you, like everyone at that time who has the best, biggest treat meal after the show, this like enormous cakes and creations and brownies and cookies, like every single person that was prepping, that is just what you did. And
Mhm.
the reverse diet was talked about, but it really wasn't. People were like, I'm bulking now. And so they kind of justified that weight gain. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm bulking, I'm bulking, I'm bulking. And then we later learned, like, I don't think we should be doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason I really liked Ashley was they emphasized that. And they were, I feel like just her talking about it so much was started to bring it to the forefront, and just going through not reversing well and now having such a great reverse, it makes a world of difference in how you feel and just your self-confidence as well. Like, not even to talk about like just the health, but just the mentally how you feel about how you're looking is just such a big difference. The 20 pounds in 3 weeks, you're just like, oh, I'm still looking pretty good, like looking great, and it's been 3 months.
Right. Yeah, that initial like weight gain when you put it on so fast, it just mentally kind of you like slap yourself and you're just like, why did we do that? Why did we do that? It's like you were eventually going to put 10, 7, 12, 15, whatever pounds on, but you just put it on so fast, it doesn't look right. It's like
Yeah.
real puffy, real inflamed. You're like lean-ish, but not. And it's
Mhm.
kind of a weird state of like, I kind of work out looking, but now I'm all soft and squishy. And
Yep.
bit basically all on the midsection too. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, when I get a pump, my arms are still striated, but now I got all this extra inflammation on me. But the better that you can learn to reverse, the better your future preps will. And it took me a lot of time. So I was the same thing. Didn't believe the reverse diet was real. And like Adam was my coach too. And I had never really reversed. I just kind of was like, I'm done with the prep, and now I'm going back to what I normally do, and just eat whatever I want, and then diet when I have time within reason, But so when
Mhm.
like the reverse diet, I like check in a week later, 7 pounds up. What did you eat? And I'm like, well, I had sushi every day. There was like candy bars every day. I had a cookie with each meal. I was like, didn't track anything. It's like probably didn't have any protein. It's like, what makes you think that your body was going to be okay after that? Like, no regular people even eat that. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, you're right, you're right. But it just happens with time. So okay, when this was 2020, and then the last competitions was 2021. There's what, two?
Yes. Yep. I did August and September in Vegas.
What did you place in those?
I got second at my first show. So national qualified finally. Woo! And third at the second show.
Okay, so national qualifications. Have you talked about when you would like to do nationals? Is that going to be 2024?
I would be interested in that. I'm hoping I have built enough. I was just, even though I placed second, still very small. My feedback has just always been, you need to get bigger. Oh, everywhere. Okay.
Everywhere. Just more, more, more. Yeah.
So, especially my upper body, though, I have noodle arms, and they're better now. They're better. So I'm hoping by 2024, once I cut down, I'll do some shows, and I would love to see if I'm ready for a national show. But I'm actually considering trying OCB uh, next year as well, just to kind of see where I stack up in NPC and OCB, just to kind of feel it out. I don't know. So we'll see.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk about this. What brought this up and why?
um, I I like I just feel like NPC, I'm gonna struggle to catch up. I started so small. I'm going to stay a natural athlete, and I want what really changed it was OCB used to have a rule because I had looked into it before, just knowing it's a natural federation. But they had a rule that you couldn't compete in non-tested federations. So I was like, well, I'd rather do NPC because, like, that's the big one. But they recently, in the last year and a half or so, changed that, and so you can do both. And so I was like, ooh, I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, there's nothing stopping me from seeing where I stack up in the OCB. And I mean, NPC is the one like that I'd love to really crush it in. But I think it'd be really fun to just see how it goes on a natural stage as well. So
Yeah, I
really
heard
just
that
trying it
too.
out.
I heard that because we are doing our fashion show in Baltimore, so I was learning more about the OCB League, and one of their promoters is an OCB pro, and I was like, "But you compete in the NPC. How is that allowed?" She's like, "Well, now if you're even a pro in the OCB, they're allowing you to cross over because they just want you to compete. Like it kind of, when you pigeonhole someone, it's gonna just, people like to just try different things and just go like whatever's convenient. It might even just be location. Like a lot of athletes don't really know the difference between
Mhm.
all the different organizations. They just look up what's close in their area, and whatever division that pops up in Google, that's what they end up popping on
Yeah.
stage. Like, oh, I went to OCB because it's next door, or there was one local, or whatever it is. But yeah, that's great. And it's good that you are aware and you know it. Like, you've placed second, which is really great for NPC, but bikini is big. It's the most competitive organization. You are going against athletes that may not have be natural or not,
Mhm.
so that's just, it's not tested, so you'll never know. But again, you never know. And
Yeah.
it is kind of hard of like having to put so much work in and still be too small.
My
So much
God.
work, and just like, oh, I'm trying. It's like, I'm trying to get big. I promise it's been a journey and lifting the weights. And so sometimes there is other organizations out there if you aren't seeing success in one, and it's great just to try it. Like, just to try it,
Mhm.
because like, you never know, maybe you get your pro card in OCB, or really like it, or then you decide this isn't it for me, and you go back and you're even more motivated than ever. So I think
Yeah.
that's great, and that's exciting that there's other doors and avenues and windows, and there's always a stage somewhere where you can fit in exactly with your shape, because I feel like genetics do play a big role in physique sports.
Mhm.
It's, if you don't have an upper body, you really have to push it. If just like genetically you were trying and just your body's like, nope. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that's that. I tried, but with time, anything is like you can build anything that you want. Okay, so with your journey, when you look back, let's talk about mistakes. Besides reverse diet, what were some notable mistakes that you cringe if you think about doing them, or like how you prepped? What were some of those things that stuck out for you?
Um, we'll go with like the just like very concrete black and white, and then we'll go with like the mindset behind it. Mistakes that I feel like I've made or improved on. I this is just one I bought my very first suit just based on color that I liked. I had it looked awful with the tan. I looked ridiculous. It looks great with like pale skin. Like it's like a hot pink. Looks great with pale skin, but on stage it looked awful. It's like, ooh, that's not good at all. And just pose, I will say I didn't make the posing mistake. I hired a posing coach right away because I was terrified to step on stage because I was so shy. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I at least want to somewhat know what I look like I'm doing on here instead of just
Yeah.
completely looking like a fool. Um, and I was very, I didn't embrace the prep, I guess. I guess that would be maybe the biggest. I was always looking forward to a cheat meal. I was planning what I was going to eat right after the show, which is sort of like the reverse, but not really. Like I was very food focused where I wasn't enjoying the process of like getting lean and just being like, this is fun to have this control, have this goal that I'm working toward. Um, and just not taking it as seriously. But I didn't know I wanted to take it seriously then, so I won't beat myself up too much about it. Um, and then not lifting prior to starting the prep. That would probably be the biggest one. And not taking my off seasons very seriously with lifting kind of was like I'll lift a little bit, but we'll just see how it goes and not following good programming and stuff. Because I could be so much further along with my size if 5 years ago I was taking it a lot more seriously. Uh, and going immediately on vacation after a show is never a good idea.
Yeah, that is number
Never
one.
do that,
Don't ever.
everybody.
And you want to so bad.
You.
And you're lean and you're looking good, and you're like, oh, I can eat all this food for a week. It'd be so nice to have a break. Don't
Don't
do
do
it.
it.
Don't do it. You cannot handle yourself. I've done it. I've done it like 3 times. And I was like, oh, I'll keep it together. Willpower is none.
Yeah.
Willpower is none post show. And then vacation, and you're like, oh, I deserve this. And so you justify it. And then you come home, and you're like, wait a minute, what? Why am I up 15 pounds? It's like,
Yes.
oh, I YOLO'd all week and didn't do anything for training or dieting. Like that is a really, really big mistake. I
Yeah.
literally did this in 2019, had show Saturday, left Sunday for a full week and decided I'm not going to work out once. I'm going to take the whole week off and I'm going to eat out for every single meal, not take any food, no reverse diet, legitimately 15 pounds later. And I'm crying, stepping on that scale, like, but I would, it took 25 weeks to get this off or whatever. And now you're telling me in 7 days I put it back on and I cannot diet anymore and I'm stuck here. This is not
Mhm.
fun. This is not fun at all. It's that and it's just it happens. And
Mhm.
the worst part of really failing hard in a week, you can ruin a whole prep of a whole
You
prep.
can. It's
It's
it almost seems unbelievable that you could, because I'll see that online a lot with general trainers like saying you can't ruin your weight loss in 1 week. And I'm like, you can.
you could
You
probably
really
do it.
can.
I mean, if we go real hard in a day, it's like you could probably ruin it in a day. Like you
Yeah.
want to
And
have
it's
I mean,
it's like you
yeah, it's
it's a
just the
nice thought to think you can't ruin it so easily, but it sucks that you can.
It does. It's like you can put on weight so fast, but to get it off, you're going to be fighting for every little ounce and pound to get that
Mhm.
off. And it's so hard. It's so, so hard. But it's so easy to put it on and it puts it, you put it on a lot faster than you can burn. And sometimes you got to think about, okay, is this candy bar, how much cardio is this? Do I
Mhm.
want to do, okay, here's this 300 calorie protein or whatever it is. Okay, is it worth the potential 2 hours I would have to do to burn it off? Like, no, it
Not
is
really.
not. That's not going to happen. So I guess I or like, okay, let's have like a couple little treats and stuff and incorporate it into our macros and try to do refeeds and try something different rather than everything I've been craving in one sitting. Let's just have it all at once.
Yes. Yeah. It'll always be there. That was one thing I would repeat to myself. Like, I really wanted something, you know what? I can have it later if I still want it. I can have it tomorrow if I still really want it. Even if my intention wasn't, I would actually have it tomorrow. Just telling myself, you know what, you can have that tomorrow if you still want it was so beneficial. We're like, oh, okay. Like, okay, if I still really want it, it's fine to have it. And I will say that kind of came from like my marathon training. I would be on like mile 15 or something, and I'm like, you can go one more mile. Anybody can run one more mile. And I would just keep repeating that. So I feel like that's a really good, just kind of like self trick. You can just kind of trick yourself.
You can trick yourself. Like there's days where I would pull into the gym and I would sit in my car and be like, we're just going to go in for a little bit of cardio. Like it's not going to be hard. But like, we're not going to do like an hour. It's going to be like a little walking session of like 20 minutes. And, maybe if we feel good, we might just lift, we're not going to go there for it. So you do have to kind of trick yourself into all right, well, we're just here for a little bit. And then it's like, okay, now I'm here, might as well take advantage of it. And they're little mindset tricks because you have to find the deepest, darkest corners of hungry and tired to get things done when you don't want to. But when you said about mindset, like what were some of the mindset mistakes that you mentioned?
Just I like to think like now, like I get to prep. It's a privilege. Like I'm in a spot where I am choosing to do this. But then I was like, oh, poor me, I can't have that. And I didn't think like, Sam, you signed up for this. Like, why is it for you? I mean, nobody's actually forcing you to do this. So it's kind of like the pity party me, or feel bad I can't have this food, or the working out part. Most of that was always fine for me. It was just the diet portion where I was adjusting, and it was just not feeling sorry for myself, but just not embracing it and making it a choice. And then also not taking it seriously, just like, oh, it's fine if I don't stick to it 100%, or it's fine if I have a little bit extra here, or it's fine if this cheat meal that I'm having, if I eat a week's worth of calories in one meal. um, and just thinking that little things don't add up over time, because I mean, one instance of that definitely isn't going to add up, but doing it multiple times over a prep. And so just discounting what small things have an impact as well, and just kind of brushing it off like it doesn't matter. So just not thinking things are important, and just my attitude toward prep in general was much more negative for some reason, even though I was choosing to do it. Like, why?
Yeah, because sometimes that happens. Like you, you just if you it spirals and you just don't realize it, and before you know it, oh gosh, today I'm so tired. And then all day long, you just focus on how tired you are. Then it makes it even harder to get through the cardio. Oh, now
Mhm.
I'm so hungry. Now I'm paying attention to my hunger instead of kind of ignoring it. And when you prep from the gratitude spot of like, no, I am hungry. That means it's working. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'm putting this through. Like, it was really eye-opening because I didn't want my family to think I was suffering because they were really concerned at a certain point because I kept saying like, "Oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so tired." They're like, "Are you all right? Like you've been like this for a long time." And when you prep, you're super grouchy. And it's like, I don't want that to become my personality because I prep a lot. It's like if I'm going to do
Mhm.
this a lot and I'm going to do this for not just a week at a time, but for 16, 20 weeks at a time, that is your new personality. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of girls that start prepping, if they do it in the negative, that's their new personality is this, oh gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so hungry. And I don't feel bad for anyone anymore. I don't. I do not feel bad for you if you're in prep. I do not feel bad for myself if I'm in prep. And it's a lot easier to diet when you realize you're like, okay, I like you have to get ready for it though. That is one thing that if you're not like if you didn't have enough time off to mentally want to diet again, and there's any little sliver of you on the inside that just wasn't quite ready to jump into that cut, you will you will see it. Your body is very smart. You can't lie to yourself. You can say,
Mhm.
oh yeah, but how you actually feel about getting ready to do it again, sometimes it's daunting, like if your off season wasn't long enough and you're like, man, I still feel like, I didn't get my calories up as much as I thought. I didn't enjoy like I thought I was going to enjoy or whatever we think. And it's like, oh, it's time to diet again. Oh no, I don't know if I can do this for 4 months. And the scale starts like it's all related. And they're like when your mind is in sync with your body and you just listen and you're just in a different spot, those are the easiest preps. You can fight
Mhm.
yourself all day and it makes it that much harder. But it's so easy when you just decide, like, no matter how hard this gets, I'm not going to complain. It's like, yeah, this was a personal decision. I am, I picked this. I didn't have to, but no one's gun to head and says, do your cardio. Like, I don't have to do any cardio. I don't have to ever check in, but I do because, you care and you want to, do better. Um, okay, so what was your favorite show and why?
My favorite show was my show in August of 2021. So I got my second place. It was just the most fun I've ever had at a show. Was I was stoked. I was the whole prep I had was super excited, and it was the best I'd ever looked, and I knew it. I feeling and I felt good. It was the best I felt at the end of a prep as well. And I went to the show. I knew Ashley was going to be there, and I had been talking to a couple other people that were going to be at the show, so I had people to talk to while I was there. And I had so much fun backstage. Ashley was great to talk to, and just having everyone there, the atmosphere was great. And just knowing that I did my all to get on stage, I did my all with my posing, and just knowing that I prepared well. I was just so excited. And it turned out better than I could have imagined. I was so happy with my goal was to nationally qualify. And so I hit that. I was like, yes. It was a great show. And I nailed my post show. Like I didn't go out to eat. I ate some air popped popcorn and a turkey sandwich. Woohoo! And then went to bed. And I just, I don't know, it was just everything fell into place perfectly. And it was just one of the most fun shows I've ever done. So
Yeah.
it was great. The second one that year was second best.
Midwest, yeah. And okay, so what about like post-show blues? Was there ever a point where you experienced any post-show blues, like where it like the show's kind of over and then you're going to long off season and you're kind of not really sure what's going to happen next?
No, I've never had post-show blues, and I think it's because I always have another goal after the show. So I still run a lot. And after every show, I usually have a race I'm going to be training for. So I have like, okay, post show, not immediately, like a couple weeks in between, but I start either this last year I did half marathons and I was trying to PR in a 5K. So having those goals already set up, like I know I'm going to be working toward this after my shows. Um, and during prep, I don't get to run as much, which is usually the opposite of everyone. Everyone usually does more cardio, but my cardio is cut back quite a bit when I do prep. And so I miss it in a sense. So when prep is over, I'm like, oh, exciting. I get to go back to going out for runs outside and doing races. And so I just make sure, and I think that would be great for everyone to have another goal afterward. And it doesn't have to be running, of course. Most people don't like to run as much as me, but something, maybe, I don't even know what, but just having that, like, and I knew I was going to be doing these races and training weeks and weeks before my shows. So it wasn't like it's like, ooh, now I get to look forward to this next. I'm very goal motivated.
Yeah, I think that's so beneficial because like you can't always just have the next show. You like
Mhm.
I really learned that if you don't actually like settle down from prep and like actually give yourself a break when you're in an off season, like not just be like hyper focused on like, yes, think about the next time you're on stage, but don't have that date quite yet. Like
Mhm.
just make sure you're ready before you even put it, even if you're mentally thinking, okay, I'll do a whole year, maybe 2 years. Like, yeah, it's good to kind of have an idea of when you might like to, but go based on your body, go based on data, go based on your metabolism, how high your calories are. And like when you feel ready, then decide, okay, I'm done with this off season. And having goals outside of just competitions, it's so beneficial. Like whether that's like, okay, I want to go do salsa dancing or different types of going to
Mhm.
running or doing marathons or doing other stuff with your extra time, it's it's much needed. I
Mhm.
really think so because if you just get so caught up in just competing and competing and competing and competing, it, like if you don't hit the goal, then there's really nothing else for you to do, you know, and you're
Yes.
not going to win every show.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. Even the highest athletes, even Ashley loses some shows too. But have different goals that are going to keep you in shape and keep you motivated and make training fun because it could get
Mhm.
monotonous if you try to do treadmill year round. Like that is really boring, like really, really boring. Some people like it. I like to go, sometimes I'll go outside and I'll just get out of the gym because I've been there too much and I'll just
Mhm.
make it walks or switch it up. And like, I want to train on the bicycle or I want to try all this other stuff. And it's really, really beneficial that you don't really allow yourself to have those lows after and just look forward to stuff. Plan a vacation 6 months away
Yes.
that you can look forward to that you want to stay on your reverse so you do look good in the future for your vacation or whatever it is. But any like motivation tips that you have um, from marathons? Like I know you talked about your kind of like one more mindset. Is there anything else like on hard days that like kept you motivated?
Um, just I guess just acknowledging that you're not going to usually not feel motivated all the time and just be like, yeah, that's fine. I don't have to feel like doing something. Sorry. I don't have to feel like doing something to go do it. And so kind of like what you were saying earlier with, oh, I'm so sorry. Um, what you were saying, I'll just go in and do a little bit of cardio. I don't even have to lift. So kind of like tricking yourself. That's one of my biggest things. Or just kind of like, Sam, it's going to take you 45 minutes. You could just get it done rather than complaining about having to do it. And just go do it, and then you'll be fine. You'll be happy that you did it. You're going to be excited, and just then you're done. Also, doing it my workouts in the morning, I feel like it's really hard for me to do anything. I like to wake up, work out, and then be done. Then I'm like, yes, okay, done with that. Even though usually I look forward to working out, but if it like hits 3 o'clock and I haven't worked out, I'm like, oh my God, I'd really rather just not.
Yeah.
I was actually having one of those days just a couple days ago, and I was like, or you could just go do it because you care if you skip. Like, even if no one else does, you care, and you'll be annoyed at yourself. Like, tomorrow you is going to be annoyed that you skipped for no reason. Like, don't don't sell yourself short, I guess. I'm thinking of it as it's not that big of a deal to just go do it.
It really isn't. Like we work ourselves up in our head and it's just like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm just gonna sit here and I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. And by the time you're done procrastinating, you could have finished your cardio.
Right?
And that happens to me all the time. I will sit and just avoid getting up and going to the gym. And by the time I'm ready to go, like it's been an hour and a half, and I could have been at home eating my post-workout carbs. Like I always think about that, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or something, or like literally like put a timer on my phone. Like I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna allow myself 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, I need to get up and start doing stuff because
Mhm.
like we can't just sit here and not do it. Like just literally go and do it. It's gonna be hard if you do it first thing in the morning. It's gonna be harder if you wait and try to
Mhm.
finish it before night. And then you're gonna stress all freaking day about this workout that you have. And you're like, oh, now it's even worse. Like, oh, I really, really, really don't want to go because I had time to sulk and not want to do it all day instead of just before you even realize that you don't want to go, then you're already done and it's over. And now you're happy and accomplished and everything's good. And you just keep that up. That's one thing too that I had to switch. It's I used to be a night workout person at the very beginning because that was just what fit with my work schedule. It was the only time that I had. So I would always work out after work and during a prep. I'm like, I am so brain dead. I can't think, I can't engage my muscles. Like I really can't do mind to muscle. I thought like my brain is done. I'm ready to go home and go to bed. So then I did have to switch and I was not a morning person and I did not want to get up in the morning. And I'm like, okay, let's try this out so I can go to bed early. It's like I can eat my dinner after work. Then I became a morning person, but it was rough. It was a rough transition. It was you wake up that first time trying to do the early morning cardio or get up at 5 in the morning, you're like, oh my gosh, people should not be awake before the sun is up. This is too early for me, but you keep doing it. And now I guess I'm a morning person because I always do my training in the morning. And it feels better too, because like by the time, especially at the end of a prep, um, your energy levels at the end of the day are not as high as they are in the morning. I
Yeah.
like 2 p.m. After 2 p.m., I'm going to be a little bit sluggish. So that's
Hmm.
something that you just got to figure out what works for you. And sometimes it takes a couple preps. Sometimes it takes a couple bad reverses. Sometimes you just learn throughout the journey. What else? Like, what is your biggest goal? I know you said that eventually it was nationally qualified, but do you have any other goals or like why you continue to compete?
I would love to go pro. I'm not gonna lie to anyone. I think that would be a dream come true. I like that I can keep progressing. Like I I feel like I have the potential to do well if I continue moving forward. And that motivates me just like, I could do okay. Like could possibly excel. Who knows? So that's pushing me, and just the challenge of it gives me a reason to go to the gym and really push, have it, like I said, I'm very goal oriented. So if I like if I had no reason to go to the gym and push, I mean, I'd still work out, but it wouldn't be nearly at the intensity or frequency that I do now. I'd probably scale way back down. So it gives me that purpose. And it's fun. It's just enjoyable. I like the whole, even though when I first started, I didn't, I like the process of dieting and prepping and seeing all the changes that happen. And I like practicing posing. I like going to bodybuilding bikini events. And it's just, I don't know, it's a whole little world that is just fun to be a part of. Just it's a nice little social circle that it's also exciting to be a part of and gives me focus, and it gives me I guess also gives me that competitive outlet I don't have anymore from college cross country and track. So I run still, but I'm not a good runner. I'm not competitive. I'm okay, but I will never be a professional runner. So having bikini where I can still actually compete and have that competition aspect of life is really nice. I feel like that I found that outlet to like kind of replace the sports that I had before.
What do you do for work?
I am a trainer. Woo. So
Surprise.
yes,
You
surprise,
guessed
surprise,
it.
everyone.
Okay, what is your specialty?
Um, I just transitioned to doing online bikini prep. I finally I had people asking me and I hadn't been doing it. I was like, oh, just because I've done a show doesn't mean I should prep or be a coach. Like, but I've put in a lot more learning and I would love to be the person that people come to that are runners that also want to do a show. Because so many people think running and competing are just like you can't do them both. Like running is evil and it's gonna ruin your gains. Or I lift weights, my cardio is fine. And I want to be the person that merges them together and like, let's be as fit and healthy as we can while doing bikini prep. Because I also think the longevity in the sport for individuals is going to be based on how healthy you are doing your prep and between preps and stuff like that. Because I mean, they could suck. And you can do preps in an unhealthy way, and you can be unhealthy and be in great bikini physique shape and still not be the healthiest version. So I'd love to be the person that like brings all of that together. Like you can have maybe not at like Ashley levels, you'd want to be doing like a lot of running, but most people aren't going to be there. So
So, what is your
to do more.
definition of healthy? What does that mean to you?
Just feeling good and being able to do things. I guess I I feel like should have some good muscle. You should be able to lift some weights. You don't have to be power lifter strong. You don't have to lift hundreds and hundreds of pounds. You should be able to go out and run a couple miles. Most people should go out and be able to do a 5K without dying. Maybe not a 20-minute 5K, but 30-minute. Like I think everyone deserves to be fit all around because it just makes life so much more enjoyable and you can do so much. You don't have to be worried like, can I go on this 10-mile hike with my friends that they invited me on because I'll be too tired or out of breath? Can I help my friends move because am I strong enough to help lift everything up? And I have found so much more from life being fit and healthier. And then I like that prep teaches you so much more about healthy eating. I ate like trash. McDonald's all the time, spaghetti. I've learned so much about food and much healthier now. And I'm so much I'm in such better shape even than I was in cross country and track in college, just because I've learned, oh, lifting's good for you, cardio is good for you. Oh, and so is eating well. And it just I feel like it's empowering to feel and look good and be
Yeah.
happy with how your physique is.
Yeah, I love that you said everyone deserves to be fit. And I think that a lot of people don't feel like they deserve to be fit and they don't know how to start. So if anyone is looking to start either a fitness journey or even get into the competition world, what advice do you have for someone that's wanting to do something?
To just pick an aspect and start. So I know I was saying like you should lift, you should run, you should do cardio, you should eat healthy, but that's not where anybody starts. Nobody starts doing everything. So just pick one that you feel like is the most doable. Like, okay, I feel like I can definitely do some walking outside, or I can hop on the treadmill for a little bit. Then do that first. That's fine. Like, or I could do this workout video I have that's like lunges and bodyweight squats. Like, then do that. That's great. Or I can add a veggie every so often. Like, I can add a veggie to all my meals. Like, cool. Start there. We all start somewhere. And like you were saying, you've progressively gotten better with your motivation, your reverses. That's everyone starts the same way. Just we didn't talk about it when we were first starting, so you don't see it like in real time. So it's hard to like, I don't know. I think anyone that has met me now that didn't know me 10 years ago wouldn't even recognize the person that I was when I was 25. Like, wow, you were really like that? Like, yes, yes, I was.
Yes, there is I almost think of it as like pre-fitness Savannah and then post-fitness. There's like
Yeah.
two different eras. So it's like there's the girl that loves to eat out or sometimes not eat and then binge drink all night and have fun and like didn't train or legitimately would just do an hour of cardio 3 times a week and thought that was a good workout or would only lift the 5 pound dumbbells or would be too scared to do actual weightlifting because thought it was going to get bulky or whatever it
Mhm.
was. And then there's two different sides, and everyone does start small. And we are definitely the extremes. We took our health and
Mhm.
fitness to the
Yeah.
the 1%. 1% population will actually kind of have the guts to get up on stage and like go to elite levels of leanness, but that doesn't necessarily like not everyone's going to, and you don't have to do that just to be healthy. Like just adding a couple workouts every week, that is still good.
Mhm.
And taking care of yourself, that's great too. If anyone wants to work with you, where can they find that information and like follow you online?
My Instagram is just at it's Sam Lee Fit. Very easy. Um, and that's probably the best place to find me, honestly.
And if they want to work with you, it's like a coach. Is it
Mhm.
just your Instagram too?
Um, yes, I have a link there that would just take you to an application, but you can also just message me. I also have I'm very active on Facebook, but I don't know how to like send out a Facebook. So, but you
Okay.
can find it through Instagram.
Okay. And then finally, so if could pick between cupcakes and protein shakes, what would you pick?
That's a I I will be honest, I'm not a sweets person. You would not guess that. I know, but I like a few candies, so we'll go with cupcakes because frosting can be good. So,
Okay. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. Well, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your journey. Is there anything that you want to leave us with?
yes, running will not ruin your gains. I promise you.
Okay. I love it. I love it. I'm not a fan of running at all. I do not like it. I okay. I like walking, but running, I've just never been a fan. Like my knees say no, thank you.
There's like, no, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, cardio will not kill your gains. There we go.
I can get on board for that. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. It was nice to get to hear your perspective, and I'll wish you well in your, potential OCB/national level show the next time you're on stage next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much.